Now, this is the world now on TVC News. The Philippine police have arrested 43 foreigners, mostly Chinese nationals, for kidnapping a Singaporean woman at a casino resort in the capital. The 48-year-old woman was abducted at the Soleil Casino and taken to a nearby hotel where she was beaten and threatened by her captors, who demanded for $180,000 for her release. National Police Chief Ronald De La Rosa said that the woman was rescued the next day and the kidnapping charges were filed against 2 Malaysians and 41 Chinese nationals.
All of the arrested 43 suspects are part of a cell of a loan shark syndicate operating in Entertainment City.
Now, Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte has threatened to end peace talks with communist rebels after an attack on his military bodyguards. Aides say Duterte was not in the convoy when the gunmen opened fire on 2 presidential security vehicles along a highway on the main southern island of Mindanao, where martial law is in effect. The government blames the New People's Army of the Communist Party of the Philippines and threatens to shelve peace negotiations unless the guerrillas stopped targeting soldiers on the south. Security expert and global affairs analyst Sam Phatey joins us now via Skype from Washington, D.C. To share his thoughts on this.
Thank you very much.
All right, Sam Phatey. Well, let's have what your thoughts are. Now, what are the likely implications just in case Duterte, decides to carry his threats through?
I mean, the likely implications of that, if President Duterte decides to go ahead and shell off negotiations, is that there might be military offensive operations against the New People's Army, which is, of course, the military branch of the Communist Party. And we know that Duterte is normally or usually very quick to take military actions against his perceived enemies or when it has to deal with security concerns. While this is actually a concern for human rights activists, he has seen high ratings and approvals from his own people for his actions. Mind you, there have been already 2 months of impasse, which means there has been a deadlock between Duterte and the Communist Party when it comes to negotiations in that southern region. So renewed calls to have attacks on the military, especially in which his own personal bodyguards have been injured, means that Duterte would take more serious action. So there might be some sort of counterattacks that we may see in the coming weeks.
All right. Now, Duterte has concluded that the guerrillas are targeting the army, his bodyguards, and all of that. Why do you think that the guerrillas are doing that when they know full well that there is an agreement? There is, they are trying to reach an agreement for peace.
Now, we must underscore that the initial talks for a ceasefire were agreed upon by both sides, but they really never were respected in the first place. So now Duterte did declare martial law in the Mindanao area, and because the Filipino army have been fighting ISIS or Islamic State fighters who have been pushed further south to the Malawi City area. So due to that fight, he declared martial law in the area. And it was initially for 60 days, but now the martial law has been extended to the end of the year. And as a result of that extension, the leaders of the New People's Army decided that they announced and encouraged people across the country to actually, this happened on Tuesday, to actually attack the police and also the military. And Duterte is now saying, unless those attacks against the police and the military, and unless the rebel forces stop extorting civilians, he wouldn't be going into talks with them. So, and this will not change the fact that Duterte is going to in any way change his decision on extending the martial law to the end of the year.
All right, Sam. Looking at the body language of both parties, do you think that there will ever be an agreement between both parties?
I mean, you cannot rule out agreements maybe in the next decades also, but I don't see any agreement happening this year or next year. It seems like this impasse that is happening is going to take a whole nother turn, a turn that might see some escalation of violence in the southern region of Philippines. Already you had some Muslim scholars that have crossed into the southern region and have already, I mean, held talks with some of these rebel leaders to pull out. But at the end of the day, they decided that that is not going to happen. And Duatete and his aides are also saying that they are not going to negotiate with terrorists, quote unquote, and he is taking that very seriously. So obviously, with the escalation of violence going on in the region, a lot of civilians getting caught, nearly 400,000 civilians have already fled, and hundreds and hundreds of thousands more civilians are caught in the fighting and are unable to leave. We may see this really escalate to a more dangerous level.
All right, Sam Phatey, Global Affairs Analyst, thank you very much indeed for your time.
My pleasure.
All right.